Hi everyone, welcome back to Pages of the Globe. Today I'm going to be reading to you the short story, The Death of a Government Clerk by Anton Chekhov. Now, this is a pretty funny short story. It's a comedic short story, and it involves a government clerk named Ivan Dmitryevich Chekhov, who accidentally sneezes at an important general, Bristlov. Now, even though the general nearly instantly forgives him, Ivan panics and is unable to recover from the mistake. And its psychological weight ultimately becomes not so good for him. Now, at first, if you were to read this short story, you would think, oh, well, it's just like a funny little moment in life, and it doesn't really mean much. But, like many of Chekhov's works, the death of a government clerk has a much deeper meaning. Now, this short story starts off with Ivan, who's in this opera house, and he's very, very happy and relaxing to the beautiful music. He sneezes, but he's able to catch most of it in his handkerchief. But when he glances around the box to see if his sneeze has offended anyone, he's horrified to see that an older man is wiping his neck with his glove, and he recognizes this man as the general of the Department of Transport. Now, Bristlov doesn't even work or know Ivan, but Ivan still panics and whispers an embarrassed apology. Bristlov doesn't really care and replies, okay, never mind. But that's a very open-minded expression for Ivan, and it causes him even more anxiety. And just throughout the week, he's just consistently in this state of anxiety. Now, like I said before, this comes off as a very funny kind of little moment of life, but in the story, Chekhov actually tries to take aim at the overly hierarchical order of Russian society, where lowly workers and clerks often have to endure humiliating and ingratiating discomforts to avoid displeasing superiors. Now, this story is also known as The Death of a Civil Servant, in case you kind of find this familiar. Anyway, like many of Chekhov's work, this short story mocks the absurd logic of bureaucracies and other modern power relations. This short story has in fact been adapted into both a cartoon and a film, and it was published in 1883. If you'd like to learn more about the author Anton Chekhov, I suggest you watch a few of my videos like Joy, and you will be able to learn around 10 facts about him. Without further ado, let's get on with the video. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and comment down below which short story you would like to hear next. The Death of a Government Clerk by Anton Chekhov. One fine evening, a no less fine government clerk called Ivan Dmitryevich Chekhov was sitting in the second row of the stalls, gazing through an opera glass at the cloches de Cornville. He gazed and felt at the acme of bliss. But suddenly, in stories one so often meets with this but suddenly, the authors are right, life is so full of surprises. But suddenly his face puckered up, his eyes disappeared, his breathing was arrested. He took the opera glass from his eyes, bent over, and achoo! He sneezed, as you perceive. It is not reprehensible for anyone to sneeze anywhere. Peasants sneeze, and so do police superintendents, and sometimes even privy councillors. All men sneeze. Ivan was not in the least confused. He wiped his face with his handkerchief like a polite man and looked around to see whether he had disturbed anyone by sneezing. But then he was overcome with confusion. He saw that an older gentleman sitting in front of him in the first row of the stalls was carefully wiping his bald head and his neck with his glove, muttering something to himself. In the old gentleman, Ivan recognized Bristlov, a civil general serving in the Department of Transport. I have spattered him, thought Ivan. He is not the head of my department, but it's still awkward. I must apologize. Ivan gave a cough, bent his whole person forward, and whispered in the general's ear, Pardon, Your Excellency, I spattered you by accident. Never mind. For goodness sake. Excuse me, I didn't mean to. Oh, please sit down, let me listen. Ivan was embarrassed. He smiled stupidly and fell to gazing at the stage. He gazed at it, but was no longer feeling bliss. He began to feel troubled by uneasiness. In the interval, he went up to Brizhalov, walked beside him, overcoming his shyness, and muttered, "I spattered you, Your Excellency. Please forgive me. You see, I didn't mean to do it." "Oh, that's enough. I've forgotten about it. And you keep on about it," said the general, moving his lower lip impatiently. "He has forgotten, but there is a fiendish light in his eye," thought Ivan, looking suspiciously at the general, "and he doesn't want to talk about it. I ought to explain it to him, that I really didn't intend. That is the law of nature, or else he will think I meant to spit on him. He doesn't think so now, but he will think so later." Ivan went home and told his wife about his breach of good manners. It struck him that his wife took too frivolous a view on the incident. She was a little frightened, but when she learned that Brizhalov was in a different apartment, she was reassured. "Still, you had better go and apologize," she said, "or he will think you don't know how to behave in public." "That's just it. I did apologize, but he took it somehow queerly. He didn't say a word of sense. There wasn't much time to talk properly." The next day, Ivan put on a new uniform, had his hair cut, and went to Brizhalov's to explain. Going into the general's reception room, he saw there were a number of petitioners, and among them the general himself, who was beginning to interview them. After questioning several petitioners, the general raised his eyes and looked at Ivan. "Yesterday at the Arcadia, if you recollect, Your Excellency," the latter began, "I sneezed and accidentally spattered, etc." "What nonsense! It's beyond anything. What can I do for you?" said the general, addressing the next petitioner. "He won't speak," thought Ivan, turning pale. "This means that he is angry. No, it cannot be left like this. I will explain to him." When the general had finished his conversation with the last of the petitioners and was turning towards his inner apartments, Ivan took a step towards him and muttered, "Your Excellency, if I venture to trouble you, Your Excellency, it is simply from a feeling, I might say, of regret. It was not intentional, if you will graciously believe me." The general made a lecture-mouse face and waved his hand. "Why, you are simply making fun of me, sir," he said, as he closed the door behind him. "Where's the making fun of in it?" Ivan thought. "There's nothing of the sort. He's a general, but he can't understand. If this is how it is, I'm not going to apologize to that Fanfron any more. The devil take him. I'll write a letter to him, but I won't go. By Jove, I won't." So Ivan, as he walked home, thought that he would not write a letter to the general. He pondered and could not make up that letter. He had to go the next day to explain in person. "I ventured to disturb Your Excellency yesterday," he muttered, when the general lifted inquiring eyes upon him. "Not to make fun of you, as you were pleased to say. I was apologizing for having spattered you in sneezing, and I did not dream of making fun of you. Should I dare to make fun of you, if we should take to making fun, then there would be no respect for persons. There'd be—" "Be off!" yelled the general, suddenly turning purple and shaking all over. "What?" asked Ivan in a whisper, turning numb with horror. "Be off!" repeated the general, stamping. Something seemed to give away in Ivan's stomach. Seeing nothing and hearing nothing, he reeled to the door, went out to the street, and went staggering along, reaching home mechanically without taking off his uniform, as he lay down on the sofa and died.